come one step towards us, we will go two steps towards you.
Because this has been going on for many, many years. That if I can help, I would love to be a mediator. Pakistan can do tremendous amount with respect to Afghanistan.
We again have had a difficult relationship with Afghanistan. I have invited President Ghani to Pakistan. We're all moving towards the same direction. There is no military solution in Afghanistan. We're all working towards the peace process.
We're working with Pakistan on getting a solution. Yes, I'd love to go to Pakistan. Pakistan never lied. Pakistan never lied.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Taimur Shamil. Prime Minister Imran Khan was on his official visit to the United States, and many experts call this visit a diplomatic win for Pakistan. Prime Minister Imran Khan met President Donald Trump of the United States, and the optics that we saw this time, Prime Minister's visit to US, were very interesting, winning, as I said earlier, and this was certainly a diplomatic win. Prime Minister met the President of the United States, President Trump, in the Oval Office. We could see the body language between the both leaders, which was very comfortable, as if they knew each other really well. And that's what President Trump also said about Prime Minister Imran Khan, that a very confident personality, an athlete, a very known person in Pakistan, and of course, all these things were said by the President of the United States. Prime Minister Imran Khan touched on almost all the important points that Pakistan wanted to highlight, be it Kashmir, Afghanistan, peace and stability in the region, better relations with the United States. All points were touched by Prime Minister himself, and also some other points were very interesting, some other optics that were very interesting in his visit to the United States. He also addressed the Pakistani diaspora at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., gave a talk at the United States Institute of Peace, which was also very much appreciated by the Pakistani diaspora as well. So these points were very interesting. The way Prime Minister brought up Pakistan's case, Pakistan's stance on all the important points that concern Pakistan. As I just mentioned, Afghanistan, Kashmir, Pakistan's relations with the United States, regional peace and stability, and of course, India as well. We're going to discuss about all these points, Pakistan's stance on all these issues, and Prime Minister's visit to the United States, a diplomatic win, certainly for Pakistan. We are going to discuss this with our special guest in the studios. Our first guest is Ambassador Burhan al-Islam, a renowned senior diplomat and expert on Pakistan's foreign policy. Sir, welcome to the show. Our second guest is Ambassador Vice Admiral retired Khan Hasham bin Sadiq, a renowned senior analyst on Pakistan's national security and also former Vice Chief of Naval Staff. He was also Pakistan's former ambassador to Saudi Arabia as well. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We are going to continue our discussion, but before that, we are going to look at a report on Prime Minister's visit to the United States and Prime Minister's talk with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in the Oval Office, and after that, we'll continue our discussion.
It appeared from the onset that both Prime Minister Imran Khan and US President Donald Trump have struck a chord. The media interaction by both the leaders at Oval Office indicated that Pakistan has made some successful diplomatic overtures. From offer by President Trump to mediate between Pakistan and India on Kashmir dispute, to admitting that relations between Pakistan and US are better now than in the past, Pakistan was successful in getting its message across. The most important success for Prime Minister Imran Khan is US President terming Pakistan as part of solution. This stance is very different from previous US administrations when it comes to Afghanistan. And there was no do more mantra either. And President Trump indicated a resumption of coalition support fund. The visit by Prime Minister Imran Khan broke the ice and reset the relations between the two countries. Previously, deliberations between Pakistan and US have almost always remained restricted to security concerns only. This time, however, President Trump said Pakistan and US can increase bilateral trade manifolds, resonating with Imran Khan's message back home, where he talks about increasing trade and economic activity. One of the major highlights of Imran Khan's US visit is the rally he addressed in Washington. The huge number of Pakistani Americans attending the rally was a testimony of support for Imran Khan among the expatriates. Prime Minister Imran Khan also interacted with American journalists and members of the Congress, giving him an opportunity to present Pakistan's case more effectively. All major commentators who have closely watched Prime Minister Imran Khan's trip to Washington term it nothing short of resounding success for Pakistan. This is Ali Andaz reporting for PTV World.
You just saw the report on Prime Minister's visit to United States and his meeting with the President of United States, President Donald Trump, and also the other leaders from United States. Ambassador Islam, Prime Minister's visit to United States, how do you see this visit? We were speculating about a lot of things that Prime Minister would say in the United States, or he would highlight in his visit to US. How do you evaluate the optics that are very important when you talk about foreign affairs, Pakistan's foreign policy, and the comfort level that was there between the Prime Minister and the President of US?
I think both from the point of view of optics and substance, both were excellent to my assessment. I mean, both the leaders got the opportunity to meet each other, sizing up, understanding each other, knowing each other. First time at that level. If you remember, they started with a negative note when tweets were exchanged about 6 months, 8 months ago. President Trump wrote a bit unpleasant, undiplomatic language that Pakistan was not doing anything and getting our money and all that. And Imran then responding very firmly that you must understand your facts and figures are not correct, must understand and try to find out as to what were the contributions of Pakistan. You can't say that you just paid and we just didn't deliver. This is not, although we have been saying that it is a relationship of that nature, but even then, I think factually you are not properly briefed about our contributions, our sacrifices, and 70,000 people and all that. Then comes the optics. I think I would term it as one of the best that I have seen in many years. I mean, they met each other, and in the first that press talk and how he was positively saying all those things, positive things about Imran Khan. This never happens, and I have seen many, but never a foreign dignitary or head of state would go to that personal level, saying a very smart guy, very, strong guy, tough guy like him. Pakistani friends he was mentioning about that in New York, Washington, how he knew many Pakistanis and referring that and linking it with Imran Khan. That is what I thought is the first salvo, that positive thing that he said about Imran felt comfortable and started talking. Initially he looked a bit nervous to me, but immediately he found his place and started talking. And how those issues came up, I would just mention, of course, Afghanistan came to the main meeting, yes. But how, in response to the journalist question, we were so lucky that Kashmir issue came, and Imran was already, luckily, to speak the things that I would think was supposed to be said on that occasion. I mean, engaged him, committing him. Yes, if you want to play some role, why not? Right. Of course, we have to see in due course that in that process we don't lose our principal stance and on Kashmir. We have to see, because both arbitration and mediation, both technically very difficult thing. If you trust and give the full confidence in the person, and then he comes out with ideas, you may not like that. So that is why we'll have to see how it works.
How it works, and the interesting point was that Admiral Sadiq, that President Trump said that actually Modi asked President Trump that he would like President Trump to mediate. Now this was a very interesting, and how do you evaluate this talk of Kashmir and Afghanistan and touching all the important points?
Thank you very much for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll echo some of the thoughts Ambassador Islam talked about, the overall chemistry and the overall positivity that has emerged following Prime Minister's maiden visit to the US. Obviously, any visit to the US, being the leading power in the world, is hugely important to any country, but more so for Pakistan. As everyone knows, that we have had long, close, but admittedly turbulent relations with the US. The visit came at the heels of the famous tweet on 1st January 2018, and before that in August 2017, when President Trump sort of castigated Pakistan on many issues. So not much was expected, and there were a lot of apprehensions. But thankfully, as Ambassador Islam said, the chemistry was exceptional. Both the leaders were frank and forthright. And coming to the substantive part of the visit, I think, in my personal opinion, there are three major takeaways. One, of course, you mentioned mediation in Kashmir. We want peace in this region. And anybody and everybody who can help bring peace and bring Pakistan and India to negotiation table, it is welcomed across all segments of society. So Trump's offer of mediation is more than welcome, and that's, in my personal opinion, is a diplomatic coup. And Kashmir issue has attained centrality in Pak-US relations, and hopefully there'll be good things to follow in future. The second major takeaway was the acknowledgement of Pakistan's outstanding role in combating terrorism for the last 15-20 years, and this happened for the first time, perhaps true recognition. And in the same context, our role to bring peace in Afghanistan was well acknowledged. And I think that bodes well for the future of Pak-Afghan relations, and also peace and tranquility in this region. The third issue which I would like to flag is with respect to trade. As you know, that we have about $6.6 billion of trade, with thankfully overall trade balance in our favor. We export something close to about 4 billion, 3.9 billion to be exact. And if we can sort of enter into a preferential trade agreement with US as a follow-up to what President Trump said to Prime Minister Imran Khan, that will go a long way in not only cementing relations, but also addressing some of our trade imbalance and addressing some of our economic woes. We are not a very big trade partner with US, and there is certainly room for our exports, particularly textile, leather, finished goods, sports goods, so many sectors. If that preferential trade agreement is somehow signed as a follow-up, I think that would have done Pakistan and US relations the world of good.
Rightly put that, Ambassador Islam, Pakistan and US relations have been somehow, as Hillary Clinton put it, transactional relationship. This time we see that there is some sort of a deal going on between the Taliban and the United States. Secretary Pompeo hinted at having a deal with the Taliban close to September 1st, before September 1st. While these things are taking place, these developments in Afghanistan, we see, as Admiral Sadiq mentioned, that Pakistan and US are improving their relationship. Strengthening this relationship is very important. Do you think that this is just the need of the hour for US, or they're looking for some long-term relationship with Pakistan, this trade thing?
Yes, of course. I mean, both countries realize the importance of each other. I mean, we know that America is a big power, global player, and we have to, we cannot confront or we cannot fight with them. We have to stay on the right side and keep your best possible relations with them. And America realized after 1-2 years of uncertain thinking in the minds of President Trump, now he realized that the best country which can help Afghanistan, help USA leave Afghanistan peacefully in a systematic manner, it is Pakistan. He openly said that without Pakistan we can't extricate ourselves from Afghanistan. So this is how then your rapport you try to build. You understand that this person's ability or this country's role, once you recognize, then you try to explore it the best possible way. And Imran, as the person, man of the hour, he was present there, and he presented an excellent, I think, case on Afghanistan. He said, look, it's a difficult place, complex issue, and you have seen last 40 years the type of difficulties Afghan people face and the conflict, its dimensions. So to go and try, and he always said that only way out and only way to see peace in Afghanistan is a peaceful dialogue between the parties. And Imran had been saying it when he was termed by the Americans as Taliban Khan 10 years, 20 years ago, that only way out in Afghanistan is negotiations. You can't declare, any party declaring total victory is not possible. And I must refer to that statement of his, although I didn't personally appreciate it, when he said that we could kill 1 million people and we have tried those special bombs and all that. I think it is one way of sizing up, one way of giving message to your interlocutor that you could be strong, but here you want to be a soft liner. This he said to Imran, but I'm sure he studied. I'm sure Foreign Ministry gave a briefing to him about the personality of President Trump. He must have studied that. He knows that this kind of statements and bullies he will try. But you have to stay calm and then respond with logic, and you then get the attention of the audience. I'm sure Imran did it, and this worked. And then they said that we need your help in Afghanistan, try to bring the two parties together. Imran, as I understand, he said, we'll try our best and we'll tell you the truth. And we'll remain, he also said that we'll make our sincere effort in a sort. This is how things will work. To understand sizing up after the chemistry, he then realized that this guy is saying that we'll try our best. So it's not a commitment, but it is a sincere effort that he wants to make. This is how you'll make progress. Then he gave a lot of temptation to you, talking about trade. There's nothing, I know, great products of Pakistan, and 20 times it can be increased. So this is how, as General mentioned, that we have to move forward.
Right, we'll continue our discussion on Prime Minister's visit to the United States, and the most important thing in this whole visit was, though there were a lot of important things, but one of the most important things was that Kashmir was discussed in the Oval Office, and President Trump discussed Kashmir in front of the world, in front of the media, telling the media and the people that it was actually the Indian Prime Minister Modi who asked President Trump that he would like President Trump to mediate between Pakistan and India and talk about the issue of Kashmir. Kashmir, Afghanistan, Pakistan-US relations, all these important points were discussed right there in the Oval Office. This certainly is a diplomatic win for Pakistan. We're going to discuss about this after this break. Stay with us.
Basic education is the right of every child. Today, some 168 million children are in child labor, deprived of education. Every child, without discrimination, deserves access to a quality education. Basic education is the right of every child.
Welcome back. We are discussing Prime Minister Imran Khan's visit to US, and this certainly is a step forward for both countries, as many analysts say. But we are having a discussion on what is going to be the future of Pakistan-US relationship. There have been ups and downs in the relationship of Pakistan and United States. Both have been fighting a common enemy, a common foe, extremism and terrorism. But also there have been times when there were allegations as well, some sort of trust deficit as well. This visit has strengthened the relationship of Pakistan and United States. Admiral Sadiq, talking about outstanding issues between Pakistan and India. Kashmir was discussed in the Oval Office, and President Trump himself came up with this point of Kashmir. How do you see that Kashmir was discussed? India at the moment is baffled by this development. You can see the statements coming from the Indian side, from the Indian government as well, the Indian newspapers and media. How do you evaluate this issue of Kashmir?
Absolutely. I think for Pakistan, Kashmir is obviously an issue which we feel, if resolved, can lead to peace and tranquility in the entire region. And we are making all efforts to ensure that this issue is resolved as in accordance with our principal stance of, in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions some 50, 70 years ago. We also need to understand that both India and US are strategic partners. US has huge economic and military interests with partnership with India. So coming at the heels of this statement by President of the US to bring flag Kashmir issue in a bilateral talks between Pakistan and the US is indeed something which is very welcome. But I also would like to point out that what is this thing is followed up, how this thing is followed up, and how the two countries are brought to negotiating table to resolve this issue, that will be very important. Mediation is a tricky business. Both parties have to agree, and the rule can both parties have to repose the trust in that mediators that it will be a win-win situation for both. But I think by flagging this issue at the international fora, with Chinese support coming in following the Prime Minister's visit to the US, I think we are well placed, and the fillip which the issue required, I think this visit by the Prime Minister to the US has done just that. One other area which I would like to point out is the defense diplomacy. We've had very close security relations with a number of countries, to name a few, Saudi Arabia and the US. And I think the defense diplomatic part of the visit has not been mentioned and has not received the due attention it deserves, and the leverage it affords to Pakistan as a state, that there is a thaw in the military relations which have been, I must say, historic with both the militaries of the US and Pakistan. Obviously, we have benefited from American technology, and with the indication that the President of the US gave about release of CSF, which I must say that US owes to Pakistan billions of dollars for the services rendered by Pakistan armed forces for many, many years, and that will be a good step, and that will be a confidence building measure between both the militaries to have reset the relation and have a relations which is win-win situation for both the countries. Yes.
Both countries, very right. And this point that Pakistani political leadership and the military leadership, Ambassador Islam, was there, the kind of reception that was given to the military leadership as well, Chief of Army Staff, along with other top officials, this too is very interesting, and the optics too were very strong. And the signal or the message that was given, how do you see that message?
I think nothing could be better than that. And on that CSF issue, I'm sure the military leadership must have spoken to their counterparts, but best thing is that Imran told in the media, I think, or the one of the interviews or to the Institute of Peace, I don't know, he said that, look, this begging for help and assistance is not our forte, and it's not of my interest. It's not the job of the dignified country and people, so I'm not comfortable, to the effect, he said. So this is good enough. Let the Americans realize that this is something of our not anything you are giving us as a assistance of this type, but it is our claim. It becomes because you have used our territory, our facilities, and all that. It's a payment for that. So
And Pakistan, a frontline state,
frontline state
fighting this war on
we
terror?
helped, supported you. Basically,
course.
you are paying for that. We are not asking for any assistance, not for doing anything. So that is, I'm glad if Imran didn't raise the issue. And I realized that President Trump tried to mention that, somebody asked a question in the media. He said, yes, this has to be seen. It was blocked by me, 1.3 billion, this, that. And I'm glad Imran didn't indulge in discussion on this. This is a dignified way of doing. Let the technical staff do it. Because about 5 billion, since he stopped it, I think 5 billion is outstanding. They should pay it. But leadership level, this kind of issues should not be raised if you are a dignified, representing a dignified and self-respecting country.
Right.
But let it go. On other thing, trade, he said nice things, and I knew when I was working as in the ministry in charge Americas, trade agreement was not coming. And one good thing I'll tell you from my experience, that good thing is that this whole visit was not coordinated by State Department. State Department brings in all those unimportant issues, and influenced by India and Indian diplomats, they bring in very lousy issues, I must say. This time, because it was a direct discussion and arranged by, I think, White House, they didn't talk about these kind of issues, these issues of interest to India and aid assistance and stuff like that. One point that I should mention is that I think they did well that White House directly dealt with this matter, and why the State Department didn't spoil the substantive part of the visit, because last time I remember during Mia Nawaz Sharif's visit, they were talking about, some military aspect like that, what the point the India would raise, like, that nuclear, what is it, that deliver that nuclear
Deterrence?
deterrence, but tactical weapons.
Yes.
Tactical weapons, yes.
In that tactical, I could understand that this is the point of view of the Indians, and the State Department people were pleading with you that do something about it. And we would say that this is it is for our deterrence only, and we don't think it is too important for you to raise it at this stage. Right. So I'm glad the White House, the State Department didn't poke these issues unnecessarily. Substance and only substance they discussed.
And also perhaps there's a reason for it. And because this time Admiral Sadiq is very sensitive for United States as far as Afghanistan is concerned. Keeping Afghanistan in mind, US relationship with Pakistan, was there any kind of a signal to the regional countries, India for that matter, that we have to address the issue in the region, and Pakistan and US are working for peace and stability? So this signal, that's when we talked about Kashmir in the Oval Office, do you see it some sort of a signal to India, or?
Absolutely. I mean, Pakistan is the biggest stakeholder with respect to peace in Afghanistan. And if there is one country who wants peace other than Afghanistan, is obviously Pakistan, because our peace is tied to a peaceful Afghanistan. There are a number of mechanisms which are in play. There are a number of stakeholders in play to bring peace in Afghanistan. But we feel the greatest stake is that of the US, who wants to withdraw and let the Afghans decide for their government and for their own governance. And secondly, Pakistan. I'm very happy that President Trump and the US realizes the importance of Pakistan as the #1 stakeholder in Afghan peace process. I agree with you that India may have felt marginalized, but I think with China, Russia, Pakistan, Iran, and the US are the major players and major stakeholders to bring peace in Afghanistan. And I think there is messaging as far as that is concerned. Similarly, Kashmir, we've discussed quite a bit with respect to Kashmir, that we would like to have peace, and peace on equitable basis, on honorable basis. And for the first time, perhaps, America was all ears with respect to listening to Pakistan's narrative and Pakistan's principled stance on a number of contentious issues within the region. And the Prime Minister was able to deal with the US President on equal footing.
Equal forces. And
Yeah.
while we discuss Afghanistan, Afghanistan too has been a very tricky thing for Pakistan. Pakistan came up with the Murray peace talks track
Yeah.
twice, and for the first time there was this news of the death of Mullah Omar. The talks were derailed. Second time, the killing of Akhtar Mansoor. So this has been some sort of a thankless job for Pakistan as well. But Pakistan has been collaborating with the United States. Prime Minister was very open about it, very vocal about it. Some people think that we should also be very cautious about our commitment when we talk about peace in Afghanistan. Do you think that we have been able to convey that, or we should keep this thing in mind as well?
Obviously, it's a good start, let's say, and how things fan out. And you may have noticed post-visit, Pompeo has taken initiative with respect to Afghanistan. So we should be optimistic about Afghanistan. It's a complex issue, it's a tricky issue, and all sides have to tread with caution. Ultimately, it is up to the people of Afghanistan to bring peace in their country. And we would, as a matter of principle, would want that any peace process which is Afghan-led, Afghan-owned, is the only solution to Afghanistan problem. And being a good neighbor to Afghanistan, we would facilitate anybody and everybody who sees to it that peace returns to Afghanistan.
Right.
So that's the principle.
Ambassador Islam, we'll see what happens in Afghanistan. Elections are going to take place in September in Afghanistan, and the Ghani government is already on extension by the Supreme Court of Afghanistan. Deal or no deal in Afghanistan, what would be the future of Pakistan-US relationship? Because a lot of people see this relationship at times from the Afghanistan's prison. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that things would improve and we are on the track and this is going to be substantial?
Afghanistan will remain an important element in this relationship. But Americans must also realize that Pakistan is a country we should not only see with that prism. It should be beyond that. And a lot of statements that President Trump made, it makes it clear that they now realize that Pakistan is a very important country in the region. So for Afghanistan, we told them that we'll try our best, but don't raise your expectations too high. We must realize that Afghans are fiercely independent people, and Taliban more so. It will not be that easy that you just say and they just listen. It will all be depending on Imran Khan's aura, personality, the Pakistan's leadership. Taliban already said that we are keen to meet Prime Minister Imran Khan. So things are going in the positive direction. And after that, of course, we'll have to see. Iran is an issue, important issue. I'm told that this issue also came up, and Imran Khan mentioned to the American president that any tension or warlike situation in the region will make things difficult for us. Let us first deal with Afghanistan. Since your priority is Afghanistan and ours too, as my friend also said, that peace in Afghanistan is going to help us as much as to the Afghan people. So that is also something very important. Also, I saw somewhere that the issue of trade war with China also came up somehow. And Pakistan being a long-standing friend of China, also maybe in the passing, but mentioned that this is also not going to help in the peace and stability that in broader terms we are talking about of the region. China being our neighbor, we can't think about any that kind of things having impact on Pakistan and neighboring countries, and our effort for finding really a peace which would be of your liking, our appreciation, and general well-being of the people of Afghanistan.
Right. And so Admiral Siddiq, Afghanistan would be central to Pakistan-United States relationship. But as you said earlier, focusing on trade is also very important and a very crucial part of our relationship. Moving from transactional to better economic cooperation, is this the time for both countries to seize this opportunity and take a step towards more collaboration in terms of trade and economy?
Absolutely. I think we need to move from transactional relations, just resolution of Afghanistan. We need to look beyond that. And we need to have a robust relations which is enduring and which is long-lasting, and it is to the mutual benefit of both the countries. And you cannot have a robust relations unless you have diversified relations, be it military, security, and defense, which we have reasonably good relations. Economic relations, certainly there is room for improvement. Socio-cultural relations, people-to-people contact, tourism, travel, ease of travel between the two countries. So personally, I would like to see a robust and enduring relations which is diversified and which encompasses cooperation in all the fields, and especially from people to people. The other issue which I would like to say that there are 600,000, close to 600,000 expats in the US who have played an extremely critical role in bridging this gap. And also they are a source of nearly $4 billion of remittances every year. So I think all the key ingredients of having a strategic relation between Pakistan and America exist. There are other geopolitical issues like the ambassador mentioned about the likely war or likely possibility of a conflict in the Gulf, which the region can ill afford, and very wisely the Prime Minister put across this viewpoint. Then there is issue of the avowed policy of the US of containment of China, and China and Pakistan being strategic partners with CPEC coming up, with BRI coming up. There is a plethora of opportunities for both the countries, and I think if somehow the US and the West can come around to the reality of CPEC and perhaps join hands, and also the regional connectivity with the Central Asia, with Afghanistan and Central Asian coming and joining hands with the CPEC, I hope that will bridge the gap between the US and the Chinese as well. And I foresee Pakistan as the central or the pivot of this strategy. So we have to see to it that the future generations of Pakistan have a prosperous and a peaceful future by regional connectivity, by having an enduring relation with the military power of the world, the US. And I see good things to happen if we follow properly and have our act together over the next few years.
Certainly, let's hope for the best. Right?
I may add two
Please.
points, one related to trade and another regarding China. Trade, I have noticed this time that because Trump it came from the top, he spoke about trade and the need and the potential, and we could talk it quite at length. I think our two leadership spoke about it. If I can give you my own experience, 4 years ago, the State Department arranged visit. We are planning for Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in 2015. Free trade agreement, other stuff we raised, they were not interested.
So this time things are different, of course.
Even investment, they were not interested. One conference they will have in the Middle East, we'll see if their experts could come here and think. This time it is coming directly and from President Trump saying that trade could increase by 20 times. Very positive, I would say, and I told you how it was in the past.
It's a totally different mood in Washington.
That is it.
Of course. Yeah.
President Trump is a different one, and because of Imran, of course, and their difficulty in Afghanistan.
Right.
Secondly, about my friend mentioned about CPEC, and I must caution you that as I dealt with China also, Chinese would not be too keen to see Americans directly getting involved in CPEC. give them other projects. There are 110 projects, but don't bring them in CPEC. That is something Chinese would not like.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Ambassador Islam, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Admiral Sadiq, pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Prime Minister's visit to the United States was a very important one and certainly a diplomatic win for Pakistan. Prime Minister touched almost all the important points that were of concern to Pakistan. Kashmir, the most important, was discussed in the Oval Office, and the Prime Minister himself and the President Trump focused on it. Afghanistan was discussed. The role of diaspora is very important, and the way Prime Minister connected with the Pakistani people, Pakistani Americans in Washington, was something that was very heartening to see, very important, and this is the kind of proactive diplomacy that is needed from the Pakistani side. Proactive foreign policy is something that can tap the potential of Pakistanis living in the United States, and certainly they can play a very important role. This is the time that both Pakistan and United States, as Admiral Sadiq said, can move on and make their relationship from transactional to a more strong relationship based on trust and also on trade and economy. Thank you for watching today's show. See you next time. Khuda Hafiz. Thank you, sir.